Well, here's another clip of the Destiny Adam Friedland show where they get into a little bit of Israel-Palestine debate. And we actually showed a clip of the Adam Friedland show where Adam was talking about years back when he went to the West Bank and realized that this was an injustice going on. So his politics on this are pretty good. But here's a pretty telling conversation to see where each of these guys are coming from.
I'm saying that they don't have political sovereignty.
That's true.
And they are occupied by people that do.
That's true. But then the question is, what does the resolution to that look like?
Anytime the fucking prime minister is about to go to jail, then he has to fuck up some Palestinians. That's the resolution.
I haven't heard a resolution.
My grandma lives in Cape Town, bro.
Jesus.
She didn't have to move because black people got to vote.
What does it have to do with...
You can end an apartheid.
Yeah. Do you think that if Jews lived as a minority...
I do right now.
Do you think that you live in a minority state where the majority are Arabs?
I'm a minority in America.
Are the majority here Arabs? Do you think that you would face the same pressure here that you would?
What's the difference? I'm saying it's a country where people vote.
Okay.
Right?
My top line complaint actually is I actually feel like no foreigner should ever talk about Israel-Palestine.
See, it's funny how he just jumps off of that point.
So why is he talking about it?
Well, it's funny how he jumps off of that point because ultimately what this all boils down to, and this is what I've said, throughout, it all boils down to just racism, just anti-Arab racism. That is what it is at the end of the day. Like, you can't defend Zionism against someone who knows what they're talking about without eventually being checkmated and exposing yourself as an anti-Arab racist. He says, well, what if you existed as a Jew as a minority? And he says, I am a Jew as a minority. I live in America. I'm a minority here. He's like, well, what if the majority were Arab? And he says, well, what's the difference? If it's a voting democracy and we view all people as the same, then if I'm a minority in a majority Christian country or a majority, Muslim country, Arab, what's the difference? There's nothing they could say to that because obviously,
you know what?
The sticking point is
should
Arabs are less than.
Well,
right,
but
exactly.
you do.
That's it.
But you
do.
And
then you go to, I don't think anybody should be talking about this. So then why'd you volunteer for a 5-hour debate with Norm Finkelstein?
Right, exactly.
And what are you debating it for?
Well, this is what I'm saying. Like, why does anyone take Destiny seriously? That's what I don't get. Like, why? Who the fuck is this guy?
Right.
Who is he? Who is he to even be talking about this? To be taking these kinds of positions. He clearly doesn't know anything about the subject. And hey, most people don't. Most people don't. We've been propagandized with this image of the Arab world as just savage barbarians. And that is what underlies it. Now, people like Destiny, who probably consider themselves good liberals, they can't just come out and say that. They can't even really say Islamo-fascism like Tulsi will, right? So you just have to duck that whole subject.
Right, exactly. All right, there's a little bit more of this here.
They should have Gaza Germany. We had beef with them, no?
They should have Gaza Germany.
I don't know how that would have worked, but maybe they should have. It's like people complaining about past wrongs. I can understand that. I'm sympathetic towards that, but that doesn't get you any closer to what does the resolution look like? And if you just
okay, the whole basis of the genocide and the Nakba and the ethnic cleansing that created the state of Israel is all we're justified in doing this because of past wrongs.
Right.
That's the whole rationale for the existence of this state. And it continues to be the rationale for its existence.
That's a good point. Yes.
Say, well, one state
created as a resolution of past wrongs in their view. Yes.
Right. And that is how they deflect from every accusation of genocide, of human rights violations. Well, the Holocaust.
Right.
Wow, man. You really, 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 really have to abuse that for people's sympathies to have been worn out on that subject, which I think at this point they have. I think at this point people don't even listen anymore for good reason.
That I'm sympathetic towards that, but that doesn't get you any closer to what does the resolution look like? And if you just say, well, one state...
The resolution is that everyone can vote in a country.
Okay, I don't think Jewish people are ever going for that. And I think, understandably so.
Demographic study
understandably so.
Of what people lost, reparations for what they lost,
Do you think
Truth and Reconciliation Commission
for the
and one man, one vote?
Do you think that for the Jews that left all the surrounding Arab states, do you think they should all pay reparations as well?
What?
Do you think all the surrounding Arab states should pay reparations to all the Jews that fled as well?
I mean, like, yeah, I guess so. Jews got fucking reparations for the Holocaust.
Yeah, but not from all the surrounding Arab states.
You started reading a book in October, and now you think you're fucking William Shakespeare. That's the
Oh, funny stuff. I recommend you check that interview out. It's about 4 minutes long. But yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, there's just no arguing with people who just have it in their mind.
Well, and he's not even
Israeli
Jewish,
Jews
right?
should not. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. It certainly doesn't read that way to me. But saying I don't think Jewish people will ever go for that, and I understand that. I mean, this is just, you're arguing for Jim Crow. You're arguing for segregation. You're arguing for separate but equal at best. I mean, it's so transparent. And the thing about Destiny is he considers himself a liberal. Like, it's one thing if you're an arch conservative and like you don't think the civil rights movement was that great an idea either. Like, at least that shows a modicum of consistency. I mean, you're a dirtbag, but whatever. At least it's an ethos. At least it's an ethos. How you can call yourself any kind of liberal and say what he's saying there is just mind-boggling. It's just mind-boggling. And that's why I said, as soon as this happened, I said this is going to be like arguing Atticus Finch's case in Georgia. Like, it's just like you're talking to a wall. You're talking to people who are just incapable of transcending their own prejudice, their own racism. It's talking to a wall. They're immovable in their hatred of Arabs. And that's the problem.
Yes, there are two basic assumptions you need to support Zionism. One, you have to have this very woke notion that Jews are a protected class, deserving of special protection and special rights that are not accorded to non-Jewish people. And you also have to have the assumption that Arabs are a monstrous, barbaric race that cannot be trusted to live in a post-apartheid state peacefully with Jews. And as long as you believe those two things, yeah, you can go out and argue this point of view that these same people would never argue in any other circumstance. You're essentially arguing that apartheid South Africa should never have ended.
Right.
Or it should have been resolved in a two-state solution, the blacks and whites living separately. But because of the Holocaust, because of the propaganda, they're able to obscure that that's exactly what they're arguing. But post-October 7th, more and more people are seeing through it. I would argue the majority of people are seeing through it now.
Yeah, I would absolutely. And that is just indicative of that kind of conversation. But I recommend that you guys all check that out in full.
Please clap.